There's a rare kind of man who carries quiet dominance, not because he tries to, but because he understands the power of restraint. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't rush to fill silence. He doesn't scramble to fix the energy in the room. And yet, everyone feels him. When he speaks, people lean in. When he enters, the dynamic subtly shifts. This isn't carelessness, it's not passivity, it's intention. And that intention makes him dangerous in the best way. Why? Because his power isn't in how much he does, it's in how much he doesn't do. He holds his frame, he holds his presence, and in doing so, he holds control. There's a psychology behind this, a deep understanding of energy, communication, and human behavior. The man who never reacts first doesn't do it to be mysterious. He does it because he's assessing. He watches before he responds. He listens. He feels the temperature of the moment. And only when he's gathered enough, then he chooses to move. That gap, that sacred pause, is where his power lives. Because in that stillness, he isn't given the expected response. He isn't being pulled emotionally by others. He's anchoring. And every time someone tries to move him emotionally, to provoke, to pull, to throw him off balance, and he doesn't bite, they feel it, especially women. When a woman throws emotional waves his way and he doesn't move, a shift happens. Not because he's cold, but because he's rooted. And that rooting, it creates tension. And tension, the right kind, is the breeding ground for polarity, curiosity, and attraction. Most men react from insecurity. They want to clarify, defend, explain, impress. But the man who is grounded in self-worth doesn't do that. He lets silence speak, because silence reveals. It reveals intent. It reveals pressure. It reveals emotional control. He uses silence the way a master martial artist uses breath to slow things down, to feel the timing, and to always move second. But with perfect precision, that man becomes unforgettable. He's not shaken by emotional tests. She gets cold, he stays warm. She pulls back, he holds position. She raises her voice, he lowers his tone. She wants to argue, he listens. And the more emotionally turbulent she becomes, the more calm he becomes. Not to manipulate, but because that's who he is. He's done the work, he's not reactive, he's not addicted to validation or approval. He doesn't need to be seen to feel seen. He's already complete. And when a woman encounters this kind of man, she doesn't know what to do at first. Because she's used to being able to control the frame emotionally. She's used to men giving chase. But this man, he's centered. And feminine energy always yields to steady masculine presence. This man doesn't talk to be heard. He speaks when there's something valuable to say. That's why his words land heavy. That's why his silence is respected. He's not trying to be mysterious. He just doesn't believe in handing over his emotional energy freely. That unreadability, that gap between stimulus and response, it draws her in. She starts chasing clarity. And that's when the dynamic shifts. Not through games, but through emotional discipline. She begins to feel the depth in him, that he's not surface level, that he's not another man scrambling for her validation, that he's stable, still, selective. Even in conflict, he leads. She escalates. He stays composed. She attacks. He doesn't retaliate. He redirects. He doesn't match her chaos. He absorbs it, grounds it. And the more she tests, the more she feels his edge, not in aggression, but in containment. Eventually she breaks, not because she loses, but because she feels safe. Her emotional chaos couldn't shake him. Her storms couldn't move him. And now she realizes she can finally relax. The man who doesn't react first becomes a fixed point. And that fixed point is what women, whether they know it or not, are always seeking. Because chaos, no matter how seductive, craves containment. Movement craves structure, and emotion craves leadership. He becomes the man who never had to prove himself. He just showed up rooted. In every room, he holds that same quiet power. People look. People listen. He doesn't demand attention, he draws it. Because true presence isn't loud, it's still. And here's the kicker. He doesn't just hold back from women, he holds back from everything that's not aligned. He doesn't argue with fools. He doesn't over-explain to people committed to misunderstanding him. He doesn't chase clients. He doesn't chase status. He moves with intention. And that intention makes him powerful. Even outside of relationships, this man's restraint is respected. In business, in leadership, in family, people feel the difference. He's not easily provoked. He's not insecure. He doesn't try to impress. And because of that, when he does speak, people listen. When he does act, it's felt. Because they know. This man doesn't move until it matters. This man isn't controlled by emotional spikes. He doesn't check his phone compulsively. He doesn't panic when someone pulls back. He doesn't chase after energy that withdraws. Why? Because he's not operating from fear, he's moving from alignment. Alignment is magnetic, and when you live in alignment, everything changes. You're no longer pulled out of your center by someone's attitude, silence, or seduction. You don't flinch when tested. You don't break when ignored. You're steady, and that steadiness makes you rare. And here's the paradox. The more you don't react, the more others do. Your silence gets louder. Your presence becomes heavier. Your discipline becomes attractive. She begins investing more, checking in, wanting your attention, not because you manipulated, but because you didn't move. And now she realizes your energy is earned, not given. She throws one last emotional test louder, sharper, riskier. You pass. Not by fighting, but by refusing to flinch. Now she knows. She's found someone different. Not a boy seeking attention, but a man who leads emotionally. And leadership, in its purest form, doesn't react. It guides. So if you want to step into this kind of presence, stop reacting. Start observing. Let the energy come to you. Let others show their hand. Let your stillness speak. Because the man who never reacts first, he becomes the one who commands her room, earns her respect, and holds the frame. Not through force, but through silence, through strength, through self-possession. He becomes the man no one forgets. Be that man.